everyone. My name is Hardik, and today we have a workshop with LavaNet. Super excited to announce we have Kagemni from Lava, and today we're going to be looking at a lightning workshop, 30 minutes, how to get started with the Lava SDK to use decentralized RPCs. So if you're here, you've probably used some sort of RPC node before, whether it's Infura, Alchemy, QuickNode, whatever. I think decentralized RPCs are really, really cool, and I can't wait to hear what Kagemi has to say about that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming, Kagemi, and I'll hand it over to you. Um, and yeah, let's get started.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I think it's exciting to demo the SDK. This is one of the first real public demos that we've done. So I just want to say welcome to everybody. And if you're not already familiar with Lava, I just want to welcome everyone and introduce us to Lava. It's something that gives you decentralized access to all of Web3. So you can see that here on our website, lavanet.xyz. Give you a little brief. If you really want to learn, get into the nitty gritty of it, you can check out our docs. And you can always look at our light paper. Our light paper provides a lot of information just about the theory behind Lava and how it's constructed, the architecture, things like that. I do want to give the additional context that we're currently in a testnet stage or phase. So we're still building. And the SDK that we're about to show is in early alpha. So the architecture of Lava is Cosmos based. It's written in Go. It's entirely open source, but it's not restricted to Cosmos-based chains. We support chains of all different architectures. You can check it out. It's really great because you see a lot of Ethereum EVM-based chains running on Lava, and even chains with custom specifications. So Lava is open source, decentralized, extensible. It's quite modifiable, and it's definitely user-centric. So if you have ideas for chains to add and things that you can do, it's actually quite configurable to do. But with that said, this is focused on the SDK. So generally, I want to say that there are a few prerequisites for this workshop. The first is you should have Node Package Manager, Node.js installed on your machine. You should also have Git. I think most developers may already have those things, but if not, secretly go and search and find out how to get NPM and get Git as well. My only expectation for this, for those who are attending live, is that you can follow instructions and ask questions when confused. It's not going to be requiring really sophisticated knowledge because I'll try to lay out everything that's required to get your environment set up so that you can use Lava SDK to get RPC using the Lava network. Then I just want to set some ground rules in saying that this is not a movie. Like I may come across scripted sometimes, but I promise you it's just a workshop. So we should expect to encounter the difficulties that come with building in public, both on my end, on your end, and there aren't stupid questions here. I can't promise to have no polished answer for every question that gets asked, but the goal here, have fun, learn, join together. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'll be engaging in a few less than best practices. This is my final disclaimer, but I'm going to be exposing my private key, generating a mnemonic for a pub key address on screen, and it's strictly for demo purposes. So I'll be removing the key from my keychain afterwards. Please don't expose your private keys or mnemonics to other users. I have to say that. With that said, we can go ahead and get started. So the first thing I just wanted to show you, here we have the website, and you can, of course, make your way to the GitHub. Here we have a Lava repository. You will actually need this. This is kind of a giant mono repo. It builds into Lava D, and you will actually need Lava D in order to complete this. So we're going to go ahead and install this on our machines together. I'll pull up my terminal. I'm going to just do it in the base directory. Let me get the link from it. Here we go. Boom. So I'm going to do a git clone. I'm going to paste this link. So this will pull down the Lava repository for us. And once we get that on our machines, we can go ahead and move forward. All right, so let's see, we do have Lava. So now that we have Lava, we're going to go ahead and move into that directory, and then we'll do a make build command. And this is just so that the actual Lava D can be built from the repository, make some sort of executable. that we can use. Now, this is going to go and get all these different Go packages and download them and then compile it into a program. So while it's doing that, what we can actually do, save a little time, is put this away, let the terminal do what it does, and go back to our Lava website, lavanet.xyz, or you can just type directly into your browser and go to gateway.lavanet.xyz. This is thank you for posting the link in the chat. This is the Lava Gateway. The Lava Gateway can be used to actually get access, get really, really quick access, intuitive project managed access to RPC. It also assists in the use of the SDK. So we're going to go ahead and register to get a free Web3 access account. Of course, I'm gonna do Kagemni. Let me do that separate. English, I tell you. Okay. So I will go ahead and use email address. You're going to need a strong password. I do believe that that's one of the requirements. It needs to be a decently strong password. Make sure that you're clear that you're not a robot. If you are a robot, we don't intend to discriminate. I know AI is all the charge, but we just have to be sure that you're not going to spam us. So we got some funny commentary in the chat. All right. For the record, I've never seen it take this long to process. Yeah, live demos. The person who just tuned in, who's asking, did you miss much? You did not miss much. All we're doing right now, we've grabbed this repository here at LavaNet/Lava on GitHub, took this, Git cloned it, and then did a make build. So welcome to you. Let me try and refresh this. I don't know exactly what's going on there. I am not a robot. Okay, now this. All right. I'm not certain what's happening here. Firefox is quitting on me. So we'll come back. We can circle back to that step, of course, so I can demonstrate it on a different window. But we should be getting to the end of the installation of our binary. All right. I'm going to try and do that same thing outside of the window while that loads. So I'm going to go back to Lava. Let's go to gateway.lavanet.xyz. Apologize, I have no script on here, so. All right, register. Let's try this again. All right, I swear I'm not a robot. All right, good. So we sent an email to kagemni3@mailinator.com. We just want to go into our inbox and grab that verification email. If anybody has any questions at this point, feel free to ask, but the verification is just one step that we're, all right. So we should have our please verify our email address. We're just gonna click verify account here. All right, proceed. Continue to HTTP. All right, so you have successfully verified your email address. Very good. We see that the Lava binary is still building. I think it's something particular to my virtual environment. I don't think that it takes this long to build. If anyone's having it build this long, let me know. But I think it is something particular to this Ubuntu virtual environment that I have here that's causing it to build this long. Yeah, it seems to be hanging a little bit. So if in any event, if it does, somebody said it doesn't take that long. All right. So let's take it back to Gateway. You can of course sign in. It'll change your address in the address bar to accounts.lavanet.xyz, but that's the same thing as the gateway. So I'm going to use those credentials that I just created to sign in. So this will take me to the gateway. Should be able to see this page. Here you can do a lot of really cool things like create projects. You can create projects across all the different chains that Lava supports. So you got Starknet, Solana, Polygon, Optimism, Osmosis, Juno, Filecoin, Phantom, Evmos, Ethereum, Cosmos Hub, Canto, Celo, Base, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Aptos. There's of course more chains coming, but this is really cool because you can even select whether you want to do on the test net that specific chain. You can do multiple chains on a single project. You can create that project. Boom. So you have a test project that gives you these basic API accesses. Let's check. Okay. So our binary is complete building. Let's just see. We have the build folder. So we can CD into the build folder. The next step that we need to do really is to make sure that we have a public key, private key pair. So we're going to use Lava D binary. Once I CD'd into the build folder, go /LavaD, and I'm going to do keys, add developer key. Okay. So you can name it whatever you want, /LavaD keys add, put the name there. It's going to generate this. As I said, this is terrible practice to show somebody this, but we're doing this for demonstration purposes. You'll see that you have your mnemonic here that you need to save, as well as an address right here. This is relevant. And you'll be able to extract the private key from this as well, which will be relevant for us building on the SDK. If you've gotten to this stage and maybe you already have Lava D installed and you just need to find out your address, because what we're looking for is this Lava at pub key address, you can do a simple /LavaD keys list, and then you can even do grep address, and that'll just pull out the addresses that you have. So taking this Lava at address from this developer key that we've built here, and I'm going to go back to my gateway window, and let's go to Cosmos Hub. And here you see it says Lava SDK. So right now, Lava SDK is primarily for use in the backend. You can use it on the front end of the application that you're building. However, it can be unsafe to do in a production environment. Mostly you do it in a test environment because it could leak your private keys. There is a solution forthcoming to that, which we'll be discussing very, very shortly. But this is the solution for the backend right now. So you add the public key. We're going to go ahead and paste in that address that we just took. And once again, I'll put developer key here. Now, once I do this, I'm going to save the public key. It says we're syncing your key with the project. It may take a few minutes. We'll give it a second to do that. And somebody asked, will there be a recorded version of this workshop? Yes, there will be a recorded version of this workshop. Lava is decentralized RPC. The latency that we're experiencing is because of the virtual environment that I have set up. And I may want to go ahead and switch so that you can see. Oh, the latency when doing RPC requests. I got you. No, decentralized RPC does not equate to high latency requests, because when we say decentralized RPC, we're really saying that any provider, RPC provider, whether they're public, whether they're centralized, whether they can all compete in a decentralized pool. So there will be fast providers, and the providers which are the fastest are also incentivized to be fast through our quality of service assurances, which basically ranks providers, what consumers rank providers according to their availability, their freshness, or their sync, and their latency. So with that, you get the fastest providers floating to the top. There's also an aspect of Lava which is geolocation based, although I don't think it's fully implemented at the moment. There is some basic geolocation features that cause you to get providers which are closer to you geographically. So there are a lot of things that help to cut down the latency when making RPC requests. And from the benchmarks I have seen, it is not slow. And from the experiments I've run, but we have other users who are using it for some demo applications that they've created. And so let me see what's going on with this. Okay, it did work. And I will come back to the questions here. I just want to make sure that we advance in this. So here we have it did register our key. So what we want to do, we can go ahead and move forward. Now that we've created a project, we can go back to our terminal. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go out of this folder. We're gonna make a directory, call it Lava Proj. Okay, we want to cd into it, and we're going to go ahead and initialize it. This is just to create the package.json file. So we'll use npm init-y. npm I or install, and then we're going to do at LavaNet / lava-SDK. This will install the SDK into our directory of our project. Should only take a second to do here. So there was a question about whether there's consensus on the RPC response. We do use fraud detection, conflict resolution mechanisms, where if there's like an optimistic sampling or a fisherman protocol in place that checks certain, it's like statistically verifiable number of responses to see whether, and I may be mincing my words a little bit here, whether to see if a response is fraudulent, and based upon the voting of validators on the network, then someone can get slashed for providing fraudulent or inaccurate responses. So there are different mechanisms to guarantee the validity of a response that are in place. All of this is kind of encapsulated. As I said, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of some of that stuff, a great place to start is our light paper. Our light paper discusses that. There's also articles that I've written on quality of service assurances. You can check those out. I think they're on Medium right now. So if you go to medium.com/, I think LavaNet, Yuval, you could back me up on this. If you have it, throw it in the chat. But there are articles which kind of break down the nitty gritty of some of that stuff, probably with more accuracy than I just did here. So now that we have npm, we have our package installed of Lava SDK, we're going to go ahead and just create example relay.js. Okay, and let's just verify that we installed that correctly. We'll check our package.json, and there we see we have our LavaNet Lava SDK installed. Okay, great. So we can use code, or we can just go from the terminal. But here we actually have this code that's generated directly on the gateway that gives us an example of what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do, for now, just do this nano example relay.js. It's going to take this code, put it in here. And so what this does, to break it down, first we're going to import the Lava SDK. We'll initialize the SDK to the selected API. So the API that we've selected is Cosmos Hub Testnet. So that's COS5T is the chain ID. Chain IDs are unique to Lava. They're not necessarily the chain IDs that you may be familiar with from the Ethereum ecosystem. And then the RPC interface will be determined based upon how that chain's architecture is. We can specify if we want to use a different one. As you can see, REST is specified here. You can go to Tendermint there. And can everyone test these things? Absolutely. This is intended to be follow along. So definitely you can all right. So you can get a list of the chains. Yes, you can get a list of the chains. To the question, how can you get the chain ID? It's in Lava D, and we can demonstrate that later, how to get the list of chains. For now, we have this Lava project example relay.js, and we can go ahead. This is the basic, I guess we can add some more things to our app, but this is the basic architecture that we need. As you can see, it sends a relay using the SDK, and I'm gonna go ahead and change this. Instead of Lava SDK, I'm gonna change it to Cosmos Hub Testnet, just so we can be clear on what we're using. Cosmos Hub Testnet. Okay, so we have this example. Now, one of the things that I mentioned before is that it's best to not expose your private key. So a difficulty is that here it asks for our private key in here, and it's not good practice to put it directly in code. So what I would like to do is to use an environmental variable to pull in the private key. And the way that I'll do that is by doing, first within this directory, I'm gonna do npmi.env, which will install the .env package, which allows us to use environmental variables in a .env file. And then I'm going to also create a .env file. Let's see that was created, of course. So we see our .env is a hidden file, so it wouldn't be immediately available. And the next step is one of those things that I'm saying you would normally never show somebody, but for the sake of this demo, I will be the sacrificial lamb and show you just how to do this. We're going to extract the key from this. So we're in the build folder of the Lava binary. For those who may have missed it, you have to make build the Lava binary after pulling it from Git. So we have this ./lava_d. We're going to do keys export, and then you remember we had a key called developer key. So once we do that, we'll also have to use the unarmored hex and the unsafe flag, which should give you some hint as to what we're doing. So the private key will be exported as an unarmored hexadecimal string used at your own risk. That's exactly what we're trying to do. So we're going to say yes. This gives us the private key. So, of course, for the sake of code, we could just go to our, let's go back to our Lava Proj. What we got? We've got the example relay and we've got the .env. Of course, you can't see the .env, it's empty, but we can nano.env. And now that we have our private key, I want to type private key equals and go ahead and put our private key in there. And I'm thinking I may need to put quotations around that. Let me verify that real quick. Yes, okay, single quotes. Let's do single quotes. All right. I don't know if it's necessary. Somebody says optional, I guess, and it's probably optional, but it's just the way that I had a working example that uses it. So I tend not to deviate too much to not create unexpected behaviors. So we have our modified buffer. We're going to save that, write it to our env file. Now we've got the private key imported to our env. We need to go back to that example relay file. So under example relay.js, we want to also add require, and this is to pull in our .env package that we use, or .env, and we're going to do config, and that should set us up. And from there we can go down to this where it's asking for the private key, and we can change this now to say process .env private key, which you will recall that's the name that we used in the .env file for the private key. So that will take it out of our code and put it in the .env. So we go ahead and save that. So we've got that. Now there's one final thing that we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and see real quick. We want to make sure that this call will go through. So I'm going to make sure I use an async function, and we'll call it call Cosmos testnet. And we're just encapsulating all this logic into an async function since there's awaits being used. And then I guess at the end, we will go ahead and make it so that we do async await call Cosmos testnet. So essentially, we'll make sure that our asynchronous call is going through. And I apologize. I know I'm using Nano as opposed to code. I thought that would be more agnostic as opposed to this, but we can always pull it up in code afterwards if our call doesn't work. And so we have the basic logic of our RPC call here. As you can see, what it'll do is it'll send a relay using the SDK. If I'm a maxi, no, I'm not a nano maxi. This was just for the sake of demonstration. I don't know why I reacted so much to that, but it was a funny thought. Uh, we'll pull the info and we'll just log it to the console too. So make sure that we. Yes, we know we have our Vim purists and the VI and all those peoples. I very much use VS Code often. This was just for sake of keeping this a little bit simpler so that people didn't have to set up or have an additional thing installed to follow along. So we should be good. I console logged. We have that. And we now have our private key. It should be set up. So we can go ahead and try node example relay.js. So we'll give it a second. Oh, of course. Invalid self-pairing with not registered yet. Okay. I think maybe our registration didn't go through on here. Okay. Let me try. I'm going to try to do it from a window, a different window. Can you all see my screen? Okay. No, it appears to have grabbed the private key. Let's go to settings up here, project keys. SDK is ready for use. Right. Right. We have to blame the demo gods on this one. I'm going to try and remove this key and add it back. See if that helps things. Yes, unfortunately, delete. Add new key. Let me make sure I got the key correct. No, the nickname, it's a good question from the guest who just asked, does the key name being named developer key versus it being developer dash key, does that matter? The nickname does not necessarily correspond to the name in my personal key ring on my Lava D. So they don't have to correspond. It's using the pub key address. It's not necessarily using the name. That's more of an internal thing for Lava D. So I just want to make sure. Yep, that's correct. All right. Got the correct thing. But for sake of consistency, we'll do that. I'll click Save Public Key. Boom. All right. Yep, should be good. All right. All right. Somebody saw something related to Elixir. I am an Elixir enthusiast. Yes. I didn't know I was caught. All right. Somebody asked, does the key need to exist on chain? No, what this actually does behind the scenes is it registers the key to a subscription. So it'll register it to the project. So there's not anything that we should have to do except for this. Okay. I'm in the wrong folder. Okay. All right. All right. I'm not certain why this is happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a key that I know should work for this to verify. As I said, this is the nature of building together in public at the beginning. This is not a movie. So we will take some detours while we debug and figure things out together. Um, yes, I can confirm that I saved the .env. Okay, that's saved. I'll also check the package.json. Yeah, you're right. Time to go to VS Code. Who are we kidding? Who said we could do this from the terminal? All right. So we got our private key looking good. All right. We've got no squiggles. So we're gonna try. I do believe I'm gonna switch out this private key real quick to one that you all cannot see and just verify that there's an issue here. All right. Give me 1 second while I switch out this private key. All right. All right. So let's try this on this one. All right. So for whatever reason, it did not like the private key that I was putting in. This is a private key that was generated before this tutorial. You know, it is dangerous to tempt the demo gods and try to do it live with everyone watching because things tend to be funny acting. But here we have the example response. And of course, we can parse this. It's coming back as a JSON. We can parse this and derive any information we want. But you can see it's actually performing this RPC request, sending the get get over REST, this node info endpoint. And there's no URL in use during this. So what I'm saying is that, you know, typically with the RPC flow, we may have to change the URLs and everything like that, but Lava SDK abstracts that all the way to where all we have to do is specify the chain ID, the RPC interface, and what methods we want to call and make those calls. We had a question, can the same private key be used across multiple networks or is it one per? I believe the same private key, if we go back to the gateway, the same private key can be used across an entire project. So you see how there's several networks on this project. You can keep adding networks. Okay. Now the add API button's not working on this virtual machine. But you can keep adding networks to this, and you should be able to very easily use the same private key. Refresh this page. Still stuck. Okay. Interesting. So, in answer to your question, same private key per project is my understanding of how it works. But as you can see, in answer to the other questions that we're getting, is it possible to use a Lava ETH provider with Ethereum libraries like VM, Ethers, Web3.js? Yes, there's actually an Ethers.js integration that's available. Let me see if I can get to Git and show it to you. LavaNet. Let's go to SDK. Yeah, you have to make all the JSON RPC calls yourself. No, that's a very significant thing that was thought of. We want to be able to do that. So let's see. Here it should say it's also on our docs. I do believe docs might have been the smarter place to go for this. Yeah, I apologize. So when you go to our docs, you'll see the SDK. You can go down here and it'll say Lava providers, Lava SDK providers. Lava SDK providers contains implementation of providers for various third-party libraries used for accessing blockchains using Lava SDK. So Lava SDK providers currently supports Ethers.js, and we plan to add support for even more blockchain libraries in the future. Man, I'm having the luck today. Let me go ahead and remove this excess. So LavaNet / Lava SDK providers. And here we have, you can implement Ethers.js provider. Actually, very cool to have Ruslan on the call. I think he was on the call earlier and may have dropped off. One of our developer champions actually has implemented an early version of Cosm.js support as well. So you can use this library to integrate with Ethers.js so that you don't have to write all of that JSON RPC magic yourself. So this should give you some overview for how, oh, he's linked it in the chat. Check it out in the chat. I definitely recommend you check it out in the chat. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull it up so you can see. It's Cosmo Lava client. Allows an integration with Cosm.js. So very similar to what we did before in instantiating a new Lava SDK and then creating a Tendermint Lava client and making the calls. So it's fresh off, hot off the press, very cool. Active community, constantly building on these things. This should give you some introduction to Lava SDK. I'm hopeful that you're able to follow along with the video. The main steps will be downloading and installing the Lava D, generating your public key, private key pair, logging onto the gateway and registering for your gateway integration. Once you do that, you'll be able to install the npm package of the SDK in your project and go to work. Plug in your private keys, hide those private keys, and get to building. I believe that should conclude us, unless there's any questions about what we've done here. All right, I don't see any questions. Hardik, are you still with us? Oh, we got some questions popping up. Okay. With the new Lava SDK, what would be a crazy use case do you think currently? I think the really crazy use case that I think is coming soon is like some truly multi-chain dApps, like stuff that is going to, there's some features that are not released yet that I wanted to speak on, but stuff that is going to allow people to build dApps that are quite extensible across both EVM and Cosmos, where they're communicating with each other. Lava is completely free to use right now, yes. Eventually, people will need Lava tokens or something to have RPC access that is part of the mainnet. We're still in testnet. Feel free to use. Feel free to consult me if you need tokens or if you need some sort of thing. I don't think we're offering them anymore. We had a faucet at one point, but definitely it's free to use. You shouldn't even have to interact with tokens. If anybody's talking about giving you tokens or anything like that, it's most likely a scam. All right. Well, that should conclude us for our session.
Yep. Okay. So, as last chance, if you have any other questions, put them in chat. if anybody joined late, I know a few people sitting here joined a little bit later. If you missed the earlier steps, this was recorded, so it should be up on the YouTube and the website in like a day or two. You can go check it out over there. Um, but yeah, unless there's any other last questions, we can start wrapping up. And just thank you everybody for coming. Thank you Kagemi for doing this. And okay, okay, not a question.
That's how
Uh,
it goes, right?
all right, perfect then. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you everybody for Lava Team. Thank you everybody for attending. Yeah, really appreciate it. And I love the idea of like having this be able to power multi-chain dApps in the future. I think there's a bit of a pain in the ass trying to use multiple RPCs. And then you just sort of fall back to public RPCs a lot of the time, which don't work the best. So I look forward to sort of seeing solutions like this, you know, take off. And, at LearnWeb3, at least, we do multi-chain things. And so far, it's been kind of annoying to support the 4 chains that we do right now.
Understandable. That's what Lava seeks to make easy. So we hope that many people will come to rely on this. I just wanted to call attention before we go to a question that was asked earlier about those chain IDs, finding out the chain ID for a specific chain. You can go ahead and check that out by using a command like this on Lava D. You'll need to connect. I noticed that I'm getting errors because I didn't connect my Lava to a RPC. How ironic. But if you connect Lava D to a RPC, and you can do that through the gateway. You can do Lava. You can use the Lava gateway to get RPC for your Lava D, and do I think it's config node. Yep, and actually just add the address that you get from the Lava gateway here. Address goes here, and then from there you can do /lava d q spec, and I think it's show all chains is the command you're looking for. And what that will do is give you the list of all chains. You can even do grep chain ID. I believe that should get it. It may be one word. But what that will do is give you the chain IDs that you can pull from. So thank you again for everybody. I hope this was helpful and informative. I apologize for any technical bumps. Of course, I said we're building in public. This is a very, very alpha. The SDK is still very raw. It needs your use. It needs your support. And I hope you gain something out of this. And please get to using it. Join our Discord. Holler at me. Come join our community calls and get to know the community, because there's a really great community of people building on Lava right now. And we appreciate you.
Perfect. I think we had one last question in there, if you want to take that.
I was going to pause on that question, say essentially our focus is on decentralization with no middleman. We try as much as possible in our architecture to emphasize making it seamless for developers to not just developers, but for node runners and developers to have an experience that's completely peer-to-peer. And so there will be, as you see with the SDK, and as you'll see increasingly with some of the other offerings, such as our server kit and our gateway, there are options for people to get up and started very fast, but there will also be options where you can scaffold all your own architecture pretty quickly and not have to worry about any sort of middleman or website to access. We also support, protocols, gRPC, multiple protocols per chain, and any user can add new chains to Lava through proposing a spec. There's not much documentation on it right now, but it is a possibility to, even within our repo, learn about the spec system and propose new specs. So you can add chains to Lava. Of course, it pends the vote of validators on chain, but there's on-chain governance. But it is a democratic process by adding new chains and supporting new chains. So it's very extensible, open source, going completely P2P. That's what we're aiming for.
Perfect. Awesome. So hopefully that answers your question, Surgeon. And yeah, with that, I'm going to stop the recording. And thank you everybody for coming once again.